So where are we headed today on this trip?
Mexican Hat, Utah. I'm intrigued with this adobe rock wall and this window with a couple of pots, and I just want to do a rather tight composition of just the window, the pots, and the surrounding rock adobe.
What are you doing here?
I'm checking it with a polarizer to see how much of that reflection I can remove. And I can remove some of it, but I can't remove it all. The question is, how distracting in the final print is that reflection going to be? I can tone it down by about 50% with the polarizer here. I think this is a Delta 400 film. It's a T-grain Ilford film. Normally I would use a Delta 100 film, but I need the extra light or the extra speed from this film for this particular shot. For that reason I've opted to use the 400 speed film. Here I'm going to make two readings, a shadow reading and a highlight reading. I'll put my meter back in here to do my shadow reading. And now I'll take a reading out here. Back in my high school days, I had an interest in photography, but was never able to do anything with it, simply because I didn't have the money to buy any equipment. When I went into the service, on my way to Korea, my mother gave me a camera and said, take some pictures along the way and send them back and let us know what's happening. So with that camera, it was a little Pony 128, as I recall, made by Kodak. So over in Korea, I made quite a few images and sent them home, and the more I did, the more I enjoyed it. And coming back from Korea, I was fortunate enough to spend a couple days in Japan, and having a little money in my pocket, that's when I started buying equipment. And once I started getting the equipment that I wanted, then the desire was there, and I just started making more and more images, and it's been happening ever since.
Do you recall any of your first images that you took that kind of brought you forward into photography in the art of it?
Yeah, I was over in Korea, and I was in the 1st Marine Division, and our division was in reserve at the time, and a big river flowed through the area. And we would go down to this river and swim in it and sunbathe. And of course over there you had to carry your rifle everywhere you went, and I laid my rifle down next to some wildflowers, And I did kind of a close-up detail of a rifle and wildflowers, and at the time I thought that was kind of a statement, I guess. And it was quite a nice image. Of course, those images taken way back then have since been lost. But that's when my eyes were opened up to the artistic aspects of photography. I'm going to load 2 rolls of film into this tank. 1 roll of film goes on each reel. Now to do this, I've got to turn out the lights. Sorry.
Can you explain this process?
Well, the first step was the developer, which I ran for 9 minutes and 10 seconds. That's followed by 2 quick washes, approximately 30 seconds each, just plain water. And next I will use a hypo, and that goes in for, I do a double hypo bath, 3 minutes each. This is Delta 400 film made by Ilford, and it requires a little longer fixing than most films. Most films you fix for about 4 minutes, but this one seems to take 6. This is a Jobo CPP2 processor, which I have been using for 12, 13 years now. Same processor, still runs like a charm. The nice thing about a Jobo is that you have perfect temperature control. The chemistry sits in a water bath. The same water bath is circulated through the system up into this trough, which keeps your film or paper, whatever you're processing, at the same temperature. With this processor, I process film, paper. I can also process the color film and color paper. So there's not a process that you can't use with this processor. Now I'm adding the second fixing bath. Let it run for 3 minutes. Then the film will be ready for washing.
How do you regulate your temperature?
Temperature is regulated right here. Now this film is being processed at 72 degrees or 22 degrees centigrade, and on this it requires 3/10 here to make it exactly 22 degrees centigrade.
What specific chemicals do you use?
Well, for developer on film, I use Kodak X-Stol developer, diluted at a solution of 1 part developer to 3 parts of water, and then I use Ilford Rapid Fix. Oh, I find tourists very annoying personally. But then again, I have to understand them. If I was living in a city, I'd have to get away. And I understand the need for that. I guess what I don't like is they just seem to get in the way whenever I'm trying to make a photograph. And you have to share space with these tourists. And you've got to be careful that they're not in the photograph. I don't like to make photographs with people in them.